Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Courtney Cronin here at Halas. We got a lot to get into today, Courtney. Caleb and Luther Burden really played well today at full speed. I saw a lot of, they were dominating yesterday. I was like, yeah, 2/3 speed, I hope so. But at full speed today, in full pads, seeing them go out there and ball out. We got to talk about the left tackle conversation here because we got to speak to all three of them today and seeing all of them get in the reps. And then some interesting news on Jaylon Johnson that we're going to have to break down. All that and more in today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Of course, as always, Bears podcast brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura. Drive off in under 60 minutes or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field. Exit 6 right off of I-80-94. How are you, Courtney?
I let out a yawn right before we started filming, and
it was appropriate.
That feels like it sums up the longest day of training camp practices that we had so far. 8 practices in, they're off on Friday. This was about 2.5 hours, and you got a little bit of everything. You got extended one-on-one periods. There was no 7-on-7 today, but a lot of team drills, a lot of third down work at the end of practice before the 2-minute drill. I think that, as Ben Johnson said before practice, this was going to be a day where they could start seeing guys separate themselves. Maybe in certain competitions, you won't see that until a little bit later. I still think it's difficult with how much they're rotating guys in with, like, you might get 2 reps with the first team, then you're with the third team at left tackle.
Yep.
Or it's, with 3 players, it makes it challenging. But it did feel like a day where you had true standout moments from a couple of different players, which I don't know up until this point if you had as many you could talk about.
No, listen, I don't think we had a really good deep shot pass from Caleb or Bajan or any. Maybe Bajan had one. Bajan usually gets one in there, but like nothing that stood out. Today was a day where I thought the offense had a really good day, on a day where Ben Johnson, how you talked about it, right? Talked about climbing the mountaintop. He said, today's the day where we're going to find out if you're just trying to survive training camp or if you're truly here to dominate.
I feel like I'm trying to survive training camp right now.
I think we're all trying to survive training camp. I mean, you're getting pulled in a million different directions though. But when you looked at Caleb Williams today, when you looked at the connection that he had with Luther Burden today, and just how the offense moved, it truly felt like, okay, it's time to show what we've been learning. Now let's make the real plays. We've got the details for the most part down.
And that's why you could see the deep ball accuracy starting to take place and that deep game coming alive in some of the earlier 11-on-11 periods. That's been a thing for him. And I know that Ben Johnson talked about it. I believe it was during mandatory minicamp with Ryan Tannehill, using that example of the only way you get better with your deep ball accuracy is reps, and more reps. And to get Caleb in those situations today where the offense is backed up and these move the ball periods and trying to go the length of the field. There was I think it was 40 something yards, maybe like 45, 46 yard pass that he had to Olamide Zaccheaus. And then Luther Burden, like I give the guy a lot of credit. He got back to practice on Monday. On Monday, he apparently didn't know what he was doing in a certain period of walkthrough. The next day, he gets chewed out and removed from a rep, and Zaccheaus ends up replacing him. The guy's a quick learner because you haven't seen much, if any, in anything in terms of mistakes from him since that point. And then today being his true standout day where there's not just 1 or 2 plays that you're talking about. If there's one player you come away with saying that guy dominated practice today, it's your rookie wide receiver. And the Bears have to be feeling pretty good about that because, he had an injury that kept him out for 2 months. They gave this guy a fully guaranteed contract. He's a 2nd-round pick. They expect him to make immediate contributions. He's living up to, all right, I'm out there. I'm not slow playing my way into this. I'm making a pretty significant impact. And it wasn't just with, the 2s with Tyson Bagent. He was making it with Caleb Williams in the first team offense too.
No, 100%. I left today going, okay, now I'm excited about something at camp because I've kind of been like
something to watch now to see how is it going to develop because we've seen the Rome Odunze connection with Caleb Williams developing. It feels like today also was a day that DJ
100%.
Moore and Caleb Williams finally got on the same page, but to see your rookie receiver that you expect to have a pretty big role getting on that same page with the quarterback early on it's a good sight.
Yeah. And I thought the thing for me was that it's so quick. Like that tells you, it was he was beating Tyreek Stevenson off the line almost immediately. When he was lined up against Nashawn Wright, it was, you're not good enough to be in front of me. That's how it looked from our standpoint. Now, of course, the defense is going to adjust and they're going to fight back there. But and they did. It kind of in that second half of practice, those last couple of periods, it seemed like the defense got the better of the offense a little bit more. But it was one of those days where you looked out at the draft pick that you had. And we had this with Colston Loveland as well. And you went, oh, that's why you went and got that guy. And to me, for Ben Johnson right now, he has to feel great about that. On top of the fact that Caleb Williams just looked like he was in control. He was on time. The footwork was there, the ability to get the ball to the right read. And Courtney, I've said two of the biggest things that we didn't see last year that we're seeing this year. We've seen Caleb Williams take the underneath route to Cole Kmet, to Colston Loveland, to DeAndre Swift. And we've seen him when there's nothing there, I got the clock in my head, get rid of this ball. We're seeing that in practice now a lot more than we've seen in the past from Caleb.
It's taking the coaching, right? Like that's what Ben's trying to teach him to do, that you don't always have to look for the big play. The 5-yard check down, it's not the sexiest thing in the world, but it still moves the ball forward, and throwing the ball out of bounds. Some of those pressure periods today, I know that there was, his in 2 minute, it ended to 2 minute for the first team offense ended with him getting, flushed out of the pocket. He should have been sacked on that. But again, it's Caleb Williams.
He would have been sacked. So but you're right.
Yeah, like it's the push and pull of that. But throwing that pick to Tyreek Stevenson, those are moments where I feel like as we've gone on this week, you're seeing fewer and fewer of those where those pressure situations, he's not making a bad decision or as many bad decisions with the ball. There will still be some growing moments for him, but to come away feeling confident outside of that. I know everybody's going to say different things about how they felt about practice. Calling it a mixed bag, I don't think is the worst thing in the world.
No,
I don't, because I think that you had some really good team periods. Offense down 24-21. You got to go the length of the field in 141, and it ended the way that it did. Yeah, there's a lot to learn from there, but some of the connections that he made in taking the easier throws, the easier, quicker reads, faster decisions, this is all what he's being coached to do right now. And it seems like he's picking up on that coaching, like you pointed out.
And was that 2 minute period, was that end of half or end of game? It was end of half, right?
I guess it would be,
they had the 2 up there, so I always assume, okay, that means halftime, and then
I would think it would have been an end of game situation.
That was end of game,
where
it's
you have to, tie the game up with a field goal, or kick a field goal to tie the game up.
Right.
Then it would have been 24, or actually my math's off on that. It'd be 23. That'd be 3.
You're good.
3 is.
It's been a long time here. We've got a lot of shows that we're doing
2,
here.
3. That's how many points you get for a field goal. So I thought it was end of the game for that situation to then go to overtime.
Yeah.
But, either way, it was a pressure-filled situation for him where he knew what the defense, they were going to pin their ears back and they were going to try to go get him. So there's a teaching moment in there about what he could have done on that read where, he threw it right to Tyreek Stevenson.
Yeah,
it was receiver near him.
It was a Caleb Williams rolling right, trying to throw it back, use some of the Caleb magic. We saw that for the big play to Zacchaeus earlier on the other side of the field, and it didn't work that time. I think what we're seeing, though, there is Caleb being willing to take the chances. That's something we didn't see that last year, where it's you don't throw that ball where a defender might be because you don't trust what you're seeing right now, where this year it feels like maybe Caleb Williams is going to throw a few more picks than 6 interceptions this year. But it's because he's trying to give his receivers an opportunity on a 50-50 ball. And we've seen that to Rome. We've seen that to Colston. We saw that to Luther Burton.
Yeah. And now's where you want to do that.
Yeah.
You've got to test out what you can get away with in a game and where you should pull back. And being smart with the football absolutely matters, whether it's, taking a sack, whether it's throwing the ball away in those situations, not getting, not throwing the ball away from the pocket, but in that moment, he's got pressure in his face. He's trying to make something out of nothing. I don't know if the coaching staff's going to be as irked about that as, when we talked to Ben about yesterday's practice, and he said, I was really a little disappointed about, the execution element. I don't think that this was an execution error for Caleb. I think it was take whatever the situation of the, what are you supposed to do? Games, if it's a fourth quarter situation, end of game, however many seconds were on the clock when he threw that pick, you have to leave it all out there. That's how I viewed it. And I think there will be, once they come back on Saturday, to be able to build off that, knowing that at this time next week, you're going against somebody else's defense where you're going to get a chance to test what you can actually get away with.
Yeah.
It's a good spot for him to be in, to build some of that, some of his reps up with that now.
Yeah, 100%. I love what we saw today. Hopefully we continue to build on that. That's the part that I continue to see. They're taking the details, they're learning from it, and they're building on it day over day. We're 8 days into practice. Years before, we could be 2-3 weeks into practice going, they're starting to figure it out. We're 8 days in and we're starting to figure it out. I know it feels longer, but it's not. Let's talk about the left tackle conversation, though, because we got to hear from all 3 left tackles, Courtney, and I thought today was a day where, I don't know how you felt about this, but to me, it almost felt like they threw Karan out there a little bit more than the rest and were like, show us why you should still be a part of this competition. And I didn't feel like Karan had a great day at the left tackle. Now, again, to Caleb's, I guess, point or his, how successful he was today, he was still getting the ball out quick, but I thought that left tackle position looked like a lot of what we saw last season, seeing Karan in what was, as Ben Johnson described, the most difficult practice these guys are going to have.
So, Ben says that this morning, and you think, all right, this is the day where the left tackle competition, somebody's going to stand out.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to do that when you're moving. It
went Karan, Braxton, Ozzie.
Trapillo.
Yeah.
Just to start.
Yep.
And then there'd be team periods where it's like Braxton gets the first 2 reps with the 1s and Karan's in, he gets 3, and then he's staying in with the 2s. I think it's really hard to determine who is ahead when that's happening. I think they're at a point where next week you're going to start to see at least probably not a decision, but maybe more solidified between the 1s and the 2s of like, this guy's with the first team this day, this guy's with the first team the next day, and maybe you are starting to find like a swing tackle behind that. There's too much of that, and I don't think you can really establish the consistency you need in order to find out which of your left tackles is doing better than the others. Now, of course, as Ozzie Trapillo said when we talked with him about it, it's good to play next to other guys, like be in different units where, you're playing next to Joe Tooney, might want to learn like what that's like with your starting left guard, but then going with the second team unit and the third team unit. And yes, some of those guys are going to be backups. Majority are going to be practice squad guys, are not on the roster, but even still, to show that there's no drop off in your level of play when, you've got Karan starting with the 1s, and at one point he's with the 3s. And I know we've seen this literally every single practice up until this point. I just think they're going to have to start establishing some consistency to let that line gel the way that it needs to. And something that Ben's admitted, and we asked him, like, what are you looking for? And obviously consistency, it's like the buzzword, but how you handle like your pass rush is really important.
Yeah.
And obviously we know based on body of work that Braxton Jones has struggled in that area from time to time. Does that mean that he's getting, it's a knock on him now versus his own defense and how you're seeing it? Not really. I think that Miami, though, when they come to town next week and you start to see, all right, how do you handle a pass rush?
Yeah.
Like, that's where you can truly start to see these guys, what Ben said, go to the mountaintop or whatever, who wants to be king of the mountain. That's when I think you start to see it.
I think, too, like, this is intentional, right? The one thing Ben Johnson said when he got here was get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think the goal is, hey, can you be consistent when I call on you in a tough spot? 2 reps. You got to go out there and make the play, because this isn't just about being the number 1 or the number 2, just being the starting left tackle. I should say it is, hey, you might be the backup that's called upon if Braxton goes down or if Karan goes down. Like, those are important moments on the field, and you have to be able to stand in there in those moments and go out there and still be successful. To me, I think that is why you're seeing some of the how they're using them and how they're swapping guys in and out. But it did feel like to me today that there was this, Karan, show us why you should still be in this comp, because we've heard the praise on Ozzie. Braxton's been here before.
Sure.
Braxton,
the 40 starts do matter.
Yes, the 40 starts matter, and he's not going to be the third option here unless Karan shows something. Today, it felt like to me you were giving him a ton of opportunity, and I just didn't feel like he dominated that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find this quote from Karan from earlier, just because this is his first. He's going through the same thing that a rookie's going through, because he wasn't in training camp last year. Remember, he had the quad injury that he had surgery on while he was in college. He missed all of this. So this is his first training camp. And it's not, just because you've played in NFL games, if you haven't gone through a training camp process and a position battle and knowing that you are fighting for a starter's job, there's a different level to that. And so like the challenge I think for him, like, is when you have limited reps. And I asked Ozzie Trapillo about this too. Like, how do you handle when it's like you've got 2 reps right now, and like with the first team offense, like you want to make them great, but what happens if they're not? You have like, you have such limited sample size in the moment. I think that's something that's the mental part of it for guys, knowing like, all right, if I mess up on something, if somebody gets by me, if I give up a sack, whatever it is, how do you recover from that? How does it not snowball? Because, fair or not, the situation that Karan Amagaji was put into in Washington and in Minnesota last year, there really wasn't much of that recovery aspect of like being able to recover in the moment.
Yeah,
I think that's what
it did snowball.
These coaches need to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, can these players prevent the snowball from happening? Which I think really you don't get to until you have some live contact against somebody else's pass rush, which that's going to be what separates these guys. Ben Johnson told us as much today that's what he's looking for with the consistency element. It's about how do you handle somebody trying to get after your quarterback, and the rest of the line's solidified. Like this is the position battle that we are still now 2 weeks in. I don't think it's a bad thing that they haven't figured it out yet. I don't think anybody expects them to, but you're going to have to start whittling down the reps to make sure that you're then maximizing for 2 guys, going from 3 to 2, in my opinion, how they should do it and how they probably will, like to be able to then get more balanced workloads, because it's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things to keep track of. And I'm sure even for the quarterback too, that stuff matters a lot. It's not just the offensive line, the 5 that are blocking. It's, setting protections when you have 3 different guys you have to do it for.
Yeah. It seems like, we also got Jonah Jackson who was out today, but it does seem like there is a lot of, we're waiting on you to get it right. One of you 3, we're waiting on you to show out.
I just don't think they've been really given the opportunity to like, all right, I've got the prime opportunity to show why I'm the best left tackle today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is that
based on the rep count?
Is that something you think is going to be a joint practice thing where it's like, this is your day?
I do.
Go out there and ball out. Because if you ball out the day, it's your day.
I really think that next Friday when we are out here for the Dolphins joint practice will be the chance to have eyeballs on the left tackle competition and see who's handling pass rushers that they don't see every day and who's doing it the best.
And you've got 2 of them. You got this one. You've also got the Bills joint practice. So there's a ton of opportunity, and we know Ben wants to have this solidified by the time we get, I would think, 2 preseason, but probably closer towards the season. One other thing that we got to get to before we get up out of here, we appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. I think we got a little bit of a bombshell here today as far as injury news here, because we heard from Ben Johnson on Jaylon Johnson that, he's expecting that he will be ready to go probably around week 1. And
I'll get you the direct quote. Said, I think there's a scenario where he'll be ready week 1. That's really the target date. I know he's working hard and diligently to get out there.
Yeah.
With these types of injuries that he's got, you just never know. So
I'm not tripping, right? That's the first time we've heard this, because Ryan Poles didn't tell us.
He said that it would take him a few weeks to get out there. And this was July 22nd that Poles said that. That was, today's the 31st. That was last Tuesday. So when Ben Johnson says that, at least it puts off the idea. It puts off something out. It puts something out there that it's like, oh, that cast a shadow of a doubt, like about his availability. And to say, I think there's a scenario he'll be ready for week 1. Does that mean he's missing all of training camp?
It sounds like it to me.
If you're reading between the lines on that, that's what that sounded like.
Yeah, 100%. Like I literally heard that and I think compared with, or paired up with what we heard from Dennis Allen yesterday about this cornerback 2 competition that's also out there, right? And you're getting Tyreek Stevenson, you're getting Nashawn Wright here. Like, it really changes up this DB room for you if you've got Jaylon Johnson coming into week 1 versus Justin Jefferson, who's, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the league. You can argue Jamar Chase. I'm here for the argument. But, like, that's not a situation that I think Bears fans, us as Bears media, probably the Bears, thought that they were going to be in. That's a big blow to this team heading into that week 1, if that is the case.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's like the way that it was phrased, like, I think there's a scenario leaves you to believe that there's something that may have, like, he might not be progressing as fast as they would have thought.
Yeah.
And I don't want to call it a setback, but like, that's how that comes across, that somebody who is here, we know he's in the building, we know that he's in meetings, he's doing his own rehab stuff. We're just not seeing him at practice, but it leaves a lot more questions than I think we had when we heard last week that, oh, a few weeks he'll be back.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't sound like he's going to be back for training camp. That's the way that they're putting it. Like, the way that Ben Johnson said it makes me think, all right, maybe week 1? Question mark? Like,
Yeah.
that's what the tone carried today.
Does that in your mind bring up this now cornerback 2 competition where Tyreek may be the one heading into week 1, possibly? Now, if Jalen's back and he's fine,
Sure,
he's going to play, but is he going to be Jaylon? But you've got Tyreek Stevenson, who's been in this competition. You've got Nashawn Wright. We kind of haven't heard or seen a ton of Terrell Smith in this situation here. It's kind of been those two. Does this raise the level of that competition now for you?
Oh, yeah. And I think that Dennis Allen was very calculated in the way that he said that the number 2 cornerback spot is open right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's a motivation thing for Tyreek Stevenson. And how does he not let that get into his head? I mean, there were even moments. I mean, Luther Burden got the better of him.
Luther Burden was killing him.
Got the better of him twice.
Outside of the pick. Well, even in one-on-ones, though.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, he beat him, and then he got a nice ovation from the crowd. And then the one that came down the sideline, like, that was Tyreek Stevenson in coverage. It was a great catch. It was like right in his bread basket, if you want to call it that, like, for Luther Burden. But, you know, Tyreek's got to, like, I think it's smart when it's like everybody's got to earn something on this depth chart to, like, you know, erase, you know, the cornerback spots too. Of like, Tyreek, you may have been CB2 in this offense last year, but you got to earn it this year, because Nashawn Wright is an experienced cornerback with 2 different teams in the NFL. It's, I think, a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Like, Al Harris has the institutional knowledge of him. Like, you know, it's not like, it's my job to lose. I think it's your job to win, which is good. And I think it's going to breed some really good competition, knowing that you're right, when Jaylon Johnson comes back, he's your number 1 corner.
He's CB1. Yeah. We know that.
But like, this is probably better competition than you could get if he was out there.
Yeah.
Obviously they want him out there, but like, to like truly guys that are more on the same level playing field versus a corner that's going to shadow guys, that's going to be on your number 1 receiver and do all the things that we thought he should have been doing for a while on this team. I think it's probably going to be the second most exciting, or maybe even the most exciting. I don't know how exciting left tackle is. I mean, it's the most
exciting for me. It's the most exciting for me.
But like, in terms of exciting,
yeah,
that second cornerback spot against some of the Dolphins wide receivers, when you're going to have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, all those dudes come in next week. That's going to be fun to watch.
Is it a little bit concerning at all, right? Because listen, Nashawn Wright he's played really well out here. But it doesn't feel like Tyreek is taking that next step. It doesn't feel like he's been fine, right? He's been Tyreek. He's been what we saw, I would say, last season, minus the Hail Mary, make your jokes, but like, he's been a fine number 2 cornerback. But I think we thought there was one more step in there, that you were going to get to this next level. That year 3 development was really going to take you. Okay, we now have 2 of the best DBs in football. And I feel like we haven't really seen that. And it's why Nashawn Wright has been able to go out there and compete so much.
Yeah. And that's somebody I think who needs a really good, after the player day off, needs a really good couple days. Like, he's got the pick today at the end of practice,
good pick.
Really good way to end. And then the momentum you build off of that, you know, shutting guys down in one-on-ones.
Yep.
Like, today was really we haven't seen a whole lot of one-on-one work.
No,
you know what I mean?
Not much.
Maybe that's clearly it's part of Ben Johnson's practice style, or not as part of it as much, but on a day where you go nearly 2.5 hours, you're going to have more room for that. I think seeing him shut down receivers in those drills, and also in the team period, like, just being able to be on the ball.
Yeah.
This guy can be a ball hawk if he wants to be. Put him in that position as much as you're putting, you know, Kyler Gordon, he's roving around the secondary. He's getting a chance to make plays. I think Tyreek Stevenson, if he can take advantage of that, same thing, then he's going to, the conversation could shift very quickly to, okay, no, he's actually like holding down his number 2 cornerback spot.
Yeah, 100%. Nashawn Wright, for everything we want him to be and what we're seeing here, again, he's having a great camp. There's a reason Minnesota let him go. There's a reason that Dallas let him go. He's not he hasn't been that game changer. Now he's in a Dennis Allen system that may benefit him more. He's working with Al Harris again, that may benefit him more, but he also didn't take that step. So I think that there's ample opportunity for Tyreek to hold down this spot. And once again, I continue to say, I trust the DB guy with my kids at this point, because like, he don't miss. He don't get it wrong. So, hey, I thought that today was one of the best days we've seen. I'm very excited. Got an off day tomorrow. Hopefully we continue to build on this heading into Saturday's practice. We'll see what that ends up being. But you guys let us know how you guys feel in the comments below. Be down to talk with you as well. For Courtney Cronin, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.